What's up, guys? Welcome to the Rhino Energy Podcast, where we interview entrepreneurs and ask them how their personal development journey has benefited their business growth. So today we got Eric Peel with us here in Omaha, Nebraska. Eric, welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, so we've been getting to know each other a little bit over the last few hours, and it sounds like you've had your hand in a lot of different things over the years. What age did you start entrepreneurship?
Well, I tell this story a lot. My dad asked me to mow our lawn. He said he'd pay me $25. And he comes downstairs and I'm sitting on the couch and the neighbor kid's mowing the lawn. And he goes, "What the hell are you doing?" I go, "Oh, I paid the neighbor kid $10 to mow the lawn." And I'm sitting there watching TV. So I guess that's where it started. I never really thought about it until you asked me that, but that's maybe where it really started. But yeah, I knew that the traditional 9-to-5, job wasn't for me. I kind of, my background is sales, is where I kind of started, and kind of went from there and started looking into what was making money, what was passively making money. My dad is a long history of family entrepreneurs. They own a company called Peel Salon Services, was a wholesale distributor of beauty products. And so I kind of learned a lot from him growing up, and he kind of always pushed, entrepreneurship on me, and he let me, be creative and kind of seek different avenues on how, and what it took to run a business and start a business. And, I learned a lot from him and my grandfather that was kind of the heart and soul of Peel's back in the 70s. And, I'm grateful for being in a family like that really kind of taught me that. And I think that I got lucky to have that. And I think a lot of kids these days don't even know that that's an option. Right? They just say, hey, go to school, get straight A's.
Yes.
Go to college, get a degree, go work 9-to-5. And that didn't work for me, and it doesn't work for everybody. And I think that's something that needs to be talked about more.
Totally. We had a similar story, right? You said, school isn't really for you. I graduated with a 2.1 GPA.
Not great.
I know. I failed 14 classes in high school.
Nice.
And I know 2 of my teachers faked my grades to make sure that I graduated on time, because I was not going to pass my senior year. But I still felt like I had to fit into this mold that society laid out for me. I didn't have the opportunities. It sounds like you were encouraged to go to the entrepreneurship space, which is awesome, because I tell that to people all the time. Like, you've got to be around the right circle and the right encouragement. The group that you're in and who you're surrounded with is who you're going to end up being like.
Totally.
And so that's so awesome that your family has been very encouraging of that, because that's not very common.
Yeah, I mean, I wish that in school they would teach you, how to fill out a W-2, how to negotiate insurance renewals, how to use, tax depreciation against your taxable income, even what taxable income is, like they kind of just touch on it briefly in accounting, and they say, get straight A's, your GPA matters more than your life experience. And that's really what entrepreneurship is you're just problem solving as you go, right?
Totally.
I didn't know everything when I got started. No way, I still don't know everything. But you just you get in there, you do the work, and you just surround yourself with the right professionals, and you figure it out.
That's exactly right. So earlier, you mentioned taking a risk, and we're constantly taking risk every single day. Everyone doesn't understand. We make it look really good because we operate with confidence, but we have no idea what we're doing. We're figuring it out every single day, and we figure out what we're doing, and then we figure out a system and a process, and then we make sure it makes sense, and then we move on to the next problem.
Sure. And why is it okay for a student to take out a $150,000 college tuition loan? No problem. But if they go to a bank and say, I want to start a lawn company for $100,000, they say, no, a chance, buddy. Mm-hmm. Why is that okay?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, we could go into that for quite a while. Yeah. But so you started entrepreneurship young. What was your first business?
My first business, I bought a self-storage facility in 2011. It was actually me and my sister and my dad. We bought it. We didn't know what we were doing. I found that asset class. I knew I liked it because it has the cash flow and it has the real estate. So it was producing cash flow, and you could use the real estate for tax benefits. So we jumped in. I sat behind a desk as a property manager and didn't know what I was doing, and had to figure out all the SEO, Google stuff, all the platforms, the operating. I was the maintenance guy. I was the snow removal guy. I was doing everything in the company and just solving small problems every day to try to make the business more successful. And it grew. I sold that property a few years back, but it grew 6 times from when I bought it in 2011. So, and then it kind of parlayed from that into real estate. So that's really my first love, is commercial real estate and self-storage. And it's been great. It's been super successful for us. It's not been easy. In the beginning, you're working 60, 70 hours a week. You're trying to, I didn't pay myself for a year, right? I mean, couldn't. And you're working other jobs while you're doing it as well to make some money. But self-storage was my first one. I don't really know why. I think that my dad's company had 450 employees, and self-storage has pretty much 0. Right. So I kind of went the other opposite direction for whatever reason. But
that's a great way to learn, though.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Low moving parts.
And I strongly encourage anyone that wants to get into entrepreneurship, you got to get behind the desk and really put the work in to understand your company, right? You can't just delegate immediately. You can't afford to delegate in the beginning, but it's really important that you learn not just the operations, but the back end stuff, forming LLCs, hiring the right professionals, CPAs, real estate attorneys, whoever you need to be successful. I think is important.
Do you have fun with it?
Oh yeah, I love it. It's like a game to me, right? I'm always talking with my friends or my dad or my girlfriend about what businesses would be successful. You're really just finding a problem in society and making it better or more efficient. Mm-hmm. And that's what I kind of did with self-storage. My new places, I developed a couple of them from the ground up, and I found there was a lack of spaces that were for small businesses. So I built what I call contractor base, 15 by 50 with power, Wi-Fi, and they can run now their small company out of my storage facility. So I have a bunch of entrepreneurs that are in my storage facilities now.
That's awesome. Yeah. Very cool. And I think that's a piece that so many people lose when they get into business. They forget to have fun. And I preach this to my clients all the time. Like, if you remove yourself from the seriousness of the dollars and we've got to hit this data, and if we're not hitting these standards, now we got to figure out how we got to go hustle and make more money and all that thing. And it's like, remove yourself from that, go back to having fun. Why did you start the business in the first place?
Yeah.
And like, it reinvigorates you and it takes the pressure off, and then you end up making way more sales anyway.
Yeah.
Because you're having fun with it and you look like you're enjoying it. People want to be around people that look like they enjoy their life.
Sure. Yeah, and really just whatever you're passionate about, everyone's journey is different, right? I mean, take what you're passionate about and try to make it better, or try to, make it more efficient, or, if there's a need in a certain part of town that you're really trying to solve somebody's problem about something that you're passionate about. That's really what I think entrepreneurship's about,
Totally, and sometimes you have to create your own market.
Totally.
Too. Yeah, especially with, there's so many competitors out there, but you can't really look at it that way, like, because there's only one Eric. Yeah. There's not a bunch of Erics, but so who you are is who people will buy and follow, and then you, like you said, you create a product or a service that helps other people in the way that you see fit.
Yeah, and I use that in self-storage. I'm an active owner. I'm around. If any of the tenants need to get a hold of me, they can, and I think they like that. They like shopping local. They know that maybe Public Storage is more of a corporation. They like to shop within their community. And I'm trying to help our community and make it better and make it nicer. And I think that's important. I think a lot of people like that.
So what's been your focus this last year?
Last year? Mm-hmm. Well, I've been open for a year on my new facility, so it's been ramping that up and getting that leased up. The lease up period is what I call.
A new storage facility?
It's been open a year now. The new one I just built, it's been open for about a year.
And where's that located?
It's 120th in L Street over there by the FBI building, or UBA baseballs over there. And really, it was the hardest thing I've ever done. It was a ground-up development, right? I'm the only one on my team. It's me and the general contractor and the engineers trying to solve this puzzle of building this property on this parcel, right? And it took a long time, and there was a lot of meetings, a lot of hard work. Pretty stressful at times, but it was still fun. I still loved every minute of it, and I think that it turned out great, and it solved a lot of people's needs for their own businesses. And that's what I love about it is this person needed to operate, have a place to run their company out of, and we provided that for them. And
that's awesome.
And also, I'm a partner in a cocktail lounge with my girlfriend. She's the operator of that. I kind of help with the back end stuff and forming the LLCs and getting the licensing and the permitting. But so a little bit of time with that, and then I also have a financial kind of company that's called TP2 Investments that is an algorithm-based company. And I'll butcher this, but we buy, it's an algorithm that day trades option contracts in the QQQ and the SPY ETFs, and it follows a set of rules that says, hey, buy now, and then once it makes or loses money, it sells at that point. And that one I'm really excited about. I still have a lot more to learn about that, and that's what's great about entrepreneurship. I don't know everything about that stuff yet, but I know that the information's out there to learn it more. And you just got to sit down and put the time in to figure it out. So it's been a busy year, 2025, 2026. I don't see myself stopping. I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence of what I want to do next. You're always thinking about ideas, right? I'm always looking at properties. I'm always looking at new companies. I have people come to me and ask me if I want to invest in something, and you look at everything and make that decision, right? You got to trust your gut. Yeah. You got to trust your instincts, and if you don't, then I'm not a big data guy. I'm more of a feel guy, right? I'm really feeling who I'm working with, who I surround myself with. I think that's really the most important part. You got to trust your gut.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, they can have all these results, but if you don't like them, you don't want to be around them, it's going to be hard to get anything accomplished together.
Well, Warren Buffett said, I've never seen a P&L I've never liked, They all look good on paper.
Yeah. And
you got to really sit next to the person, and certainly if you're going to get into a partnership.
Yeah.
So that is important.
No, when I was growing my general contracting company, all the subs that wanted to work for me, I would make sure that we went to lunch or dinner. I'd see how they treated their wait staff,
sure.
If they were tipping well, if we were actually having a good conversation and it felt comfortable there. And I always ask them a lot of these similar questions that I'm asking you today, because at the end of the day, it's a partnership.
Yep.
Anybody you bring, even if it's an employee, right? When you're interviewing somebody, that's a partnership that you're trusting with your business. It's your name on it.
Totally. And we're out to the point with self-storage where there's some tenants we just might not rent to.
Yeah.
It's better for the facility as a whole to have the right tenant in there and the right people around there.
Well, and when you're not chasing the dollar, you just feel better, and you know that you're operating 100% authentic, which is awesome. I know you mentioned your father and your grandpa. Are there maybe a couple other entrepreneurs that have really inspired you over the years, or somebody, maybe a mentor or a coach?
Yeah, Dad's big, Grandpa's big, great-grandpa, I never met him, but he kind of started the family bloodline. He owned 5 shoe stores in the Great Depression, went out of business, right? And did I touch on this already?
No.
Okay, so, had 5 shoe stores in the Great Depression. They went under, just like everything did, but for the most part. And he kind of, he knew that was his spirit. He had the entrepreneurial spirit. He looked at what was making money. It was beauty products and alcohol sales, funny enough. And it's kind of come full circle that I own a cocktail lounge now, which is kind of fun to think about. But he ended up starting a beauty distributorship, and the family owned it for 75 years. But as far as mentors on the entrepreneurial side, I'm trying to think. I kind of just did a lot of Googling, a lot of my CPA I leaned on a lot. Aaron Wiegert, he was great. Mark Johnson is my real estate lawyer. He's a mentor of mine. He's a very smart man that I know and trust and talk a lot of real estate with. That's probably it that I can think of.
That's good. I mean, we always have so many people that help us shape who we are today, and I don't think enough times we talk about the credit that those people deserve. And it gets, we get so busy and we move on to the next thing so fast. I like to reflect and give homage to those who have gotten us here. Is there a defining moment in your life that really helped you boost forward, but maybe in the moment it was really hard to see what was going on because it was so just frustrating? And then afterwards, maybe it was a couple years afterwards, or 5 years later, 10 years later, that you're like, man, I really needed that to spark me into this, propel in this next stage of life?
Yeah, I mean, there was a point when I bought my first facility that we weren't making money. We were losing money for the first year or two, and I said, this is a bad property. I don't think it was off the beaten path. It wasn't on the main road. There was no drive-through or drive-by traffic. And I sat down one day and I said, I got to figure this out. And I really dug into the SEO, Google side of things and using that as a tool. And this is back in 2010, right? This is kind of, social media wasn't as prominent as it is now. But so you kind of had to get creative to find foot traffic to get sales and to get customers, and that was a big moment for me when I kind of figured out the SEO side and how important it was, and started the social media stuff, and that's a big moment, was a big moment for me. But I quit drinking about 2 years ago, and I kind of hit rock bottom. I would consider myself a functioning alcoholic at the time. I was getting my stuff done. I was still saving face, but I was drinking way too much, and I quit that 2 years ago in the middle of this project, the development of my new storage facility. And I knew that if I was going to get this done, I had to be 110% all in, because it was the hardest project I've ever worked on. So, and I knew that I couldn't be coming in late or being hungover, and that really I kind of hit rock bottom somewhere around there. I remember drinking at a bar. It was like a Sunday or Monday night alone at like 12 o'clock, and I'm like, what am I doing, right? And I had that moment with myself, and I think that everyone that's drank probably has that talk with themselves, and that really propelled me. Ever since I quit drinking, I've acquired 4 companies since then in 2 years, right?
Wow.
So I started my first company in 2010, 15 years. I've done more in 2 years than the first 13 years, when I was drinking still. So that's, I just couldn't, once I had a couple drinks, I always had 10, right? I couldn't moderate it. I just, and I still, whatever, I'm bad at moderating, anything right now. Just if I open up a bag of Doritos, I'm gonna eat the whole thing. And I think that's just kind of my personality, and I think it helps with business at times, and it also hurts. So that was probably a big moment too for me.
That's awesome, and I appreciate you being vulnerable and sharing that with us.
Yeah.
And it's cool because now you have so much energy to give back into everything that you're doing that you're really passionate about.
Totally.
You're not distracted by certain things, and you probably connect better with people, I would imagine. You probably feel better about yourself.
Most definitely. Yeah, I mean, just looking yourself in the mirror and something you can be proud of. Really what matters is if you lay your head down at night and you're proud of the day you had, that's all that matters. You don't need anybody's validation. If it's coming from within, that you know that you did everything you could and you did it the right way, it's enough for me.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So I know you said you started very young, and I don't know, did you give us an age and when you started doing the lawn care thing?
I was 12 years old, 13 years old.
Okay, yeah.
And just offered the kid, So I still got paid $15.
Yeah,
he got
no,
paid
that's
10, but I didn't do any of the work, and that's, I guess, where the passive income, self-storage mindset came into place. Because self-storage, they don't call it self-storage for nothing.
Yeah. So there's a total large group of young entrepreneurs in the world,
Sure.
but we've got an awesome focus here in Omaha. Is there anything you'd like to say to them to encourage them to go for it when it gets hard?
Yeah. I think that you should always be inching towards your passion and goal in entrepreneurship. I don't think you should quit your job tomorrow, right? I think you should be, a lot of the kids call it a side hustle. Like, you should always kind of be learning or moving towards that edge. And a lot of people, they have great ideas, but it's tough to take that risk and make that jump, right? I think that society's kind of said, hey, you need to go to college, you need to get a 9-to-5, you need to, get a 401k, right? And then work for 60 years and then retire, right? Like, that's what society tells us to do, right?
Sure.
Which I personally disagree with, but I've talked to Shannon, and maybe me and you can talk more about this offset, but there needs to be some more entrepreneurial camps or programs that kids, just say, hey kids, go start a lemonade stand, or sell baseball cards on eBay, and give them, some tools to, and just know that there's other options besides, working 9-to-5s, right? I'm
glad you brought that up, because we're actually doing a Startup Your Summer Summit.
Wow.
May 15th,
nice.
2026, so we'll have to get you involved in that.
I'm available.
Sweet, let's do it. Well, it's been a pleasure, brother, and I appreciate you sharing everything you've shared. Anybody you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, I mean, my dad, Bill Peel, my mom, Susan, my kids, Henry and Cam, my kids keep me, motivated, right? I feel that that's my purpose in life, is to provide for them and teach them and grow them into young men, and they keep me going,
Sweet. All right, thanks, Eric.
Yeah, thanks, Grant. Appreciate it.